Listen, I know you're all sentimental because you're about to die, but pull yourself together. Hey nerds, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be ending our review of the series Lovecraft Country. But before we get into that, I just want to thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Now let's get into this. Y'all, we made it to the last episode. Although we've come to the end of the road, still I can't let go. We've been doing this for 2 months. Can you believe it? This episode opens with the gang returning home. Once again, Dee has started to turn into a demon, so they're looking for the correct spell in the Book of Names to break her curse. When they find the spell, Montrose sees that Tick's birthmark is sitting in the center of the page. And as soon as they see this, both Tick and Letty faint. Letty fell hard as fuck. As someone who has a disorder that causes fainting, I know they were sore when they came to. We see Tick back in the burning lodge again, running after Hannah again, but this time the entire atmosphere is red, even the flames. Hannah turns to Tick and says, "The answer is in your blood." Letty went somewhere too. She is back in Hattie's house in Tulsa. This is just like the ancestral plane from Black Panther. I was overthinking it and I was like, is it an ancestral plane for Letty? Because she's not family, but she's carrying Tick's baby and it's part of their bloodline. I was overthinking too much. Hattie appears and she's telling Letty, "It's fine, it's okay, we're safe, the baby brought you here to see me." Hattie then explains now that the book has been opened with the incantation that she gave Letty, they have to learn what was lost. Hannah begins to tell her story to Tick and she tells him that she used one of Titus's spells to hide their bloodline from people who know magic, especially those in the Order of Ancient Dawn. And then at the very same time, Hattie is explaining to Letty that when Hannah first cast that spell, she created this ancestral plane, which she thought was hell at first because, yeah, look at it, it's red as f and there's fire everywhere. Hattie says before Hannah unalived herself, so sad, she opened the book one more time to see if there was a spell that would seal it shut forever. She wanted to do this so no one else in the family would be exposed to it. Then we see Hannah literally pass the torch to Tick, giving him all of her power. Tick says, "Tell me how to save Dee. I need to save Dee from this curse." She looks at him and says, "You gon' save them all." Very cryptic. And at the very same time as Hannah is passing the torch to Tick, Hattie is passing the Book of Names to Letty. Tick is then transported into his father's home, still in the ancestral plane, and he sees his mother, Dora. This poor boy. He just needed a hug from his mom. It's an emotional reunion between the two, and Tick is telling his mom that he is afraid to die. And she comforts him by saying, you know, if we don't sacrifice ourselves for the greater good, what purpose do we serve? That's fine and everything, but I still don't want to die. I'm not wearing my necklace. Oh my god. Back to Letty, and Hattie is teaching her the language of Adam. Then Tick and Dora appear around a corner. Letty and Tick share a knowing glance between them, and they both know he is not coming out the other end of this. So Tick, Letty, Dora, and Hattie begin the spell to save Dee from the curse. From the ether. And it's working. Then Letty and Tick wake up back in the land of the living. But not everything is hunky-dory. Dee's back to normal for the most part, but her arm is still decayed. Next scene, Tick and Montrose are arguing about the sacrifice. Then in the middle of the argument, Tick says, "You know what, I'm not gonna die. Even though the book says I'm gonna die, that's just one possible, you know, universe or reality." Letty's looking at him like, I don't know about that. Tick is adamant about seeing this plan and spell to the bitter end because they've gone through a lot and they've lost so much. We then see Tick and Letty preparing for a trip. They're going to use the elevator again. If you remember in, what was it, episode 3 and 4, that elevator leads to the museum that they were in episode 4, and they're gonna go back to the cavern. Ready or Not by Highland Park Collective is scored over this scene, and I couldn't think of a better choice. It got me hyped all over again. I was like, yes, they're gonna tear up. So they're at the center hub of all of the tunnels where they meet, and they're about to cast a spell. They freaking summoned Titus. This is the first that we're seeing him like actually in our face. And he's talking about, who are you? But then Hannah pops up too. So Titus and Hannah are having it out, and he's like, y'all can't use my magic. Hannah goes, honey, what's stolen is not yours. Then these dumb hoes let Titus's spirit slip out of the protective circle that was supposed to keep his spirit in. Titus is then transported into the middle of a busy street. The same busy street Ruby and Christina are driving on. Christina swerves to avoid hitting him, and she crashes the car. Y'all, look at how she flew through this windshield. Watch out! So after Christina crashes the car and she checks on Ruby, she sees Titus standing there like, girl, why are you here? And before this man can snitch on Tick and Letty talking about they have the book of names, he is transported right back to that circle. And now it's Letty, Dora, Hattie, and Hannah chanting all around him. Seeing these women surround this man ready to take him down, it just awakens my inner misandrist. So Tick pops back up and he is giving Titus some go. Also, he can take a piece of skin from him. Tick needs a piece of Titus's skin because the spell that he's going to use to counterattack Christina requires him to be both physically connected to Titus and Christina. So he takes a piece of his chest meat. And after the spell is finished, Dora, Hattie, and Hannah fade into the ether. Back to Dee, and we see Hippolyta trying to feed her. Dee ain't having it though. She is mad at her mother. And that is so fair, that is so valid. Hippolyta tries to explain that she had to leave so she can become who Dee envisioned her to be, Orithyia Blue. This blue hair on Hippolyta is working for me. And she also tries to explain the multiverse thing to Dee, but she ain't trying to hear all that. Cut to the next scene. Tick, Letty, and Montrose are trying to figure out how they're going to get a piece of Christina now that Tick has a piece of Titus. Letty says the only chance they have of getting a piece of Christina is if they use Ruby. I would not bank on her. That bitch is weird. Speak of the devil, Christina shows up and Letty hides the book. Christina looks hella good in this golden black number. I'm not even gonna lie. She come up in there, talk about, it's not personal, it never was. Our families are not at war. Bull twinkle. Yes it is, and yes we are. And Christina's like, listen y'all, let's stop playing games. I know y'all have the book. Give it to me. They all looking like, no. Christina's like, listen, if you give me the book, I will, find another way to do the spell without using Tick, killing him, whatever. Just give me the book. And Tick, being smart, goes, fuck no, baby. Christina goes, bet. So as she's leaving, she removes the mark of Cain from Letty, leaving her vulnerable once again. Again, that looked like it hurt. So the whole family goes over to Letty's house and Tick makes a call to the Drake Hotel. Cutscenes, and guess who's here? It's Gia. She never left. Turns out she's meeting Tick so they can talk. Tick apologizes to Gia for the way he treated her and for not understanding. The Kumiho inside of Gia admits to grief, and Tick is like, that's something that you should go through with family, and you're our family now. Tick, I love you, but no. No. That's not how this works. You f her, not once, but twice. You disrespect her, call her out her name, and then when she shows up trying to help you again, you basically threw her out on the street and now she family. Listen, I know you're all sentimental because you're about to die, but pull yourself together. Gia tells Tick what the shaman said about her, eventually succumbing to darkness and that Tick will indeed die. And he's like, I don't believe that, we can choose to be heroes or monsters. Let's choose to be heroes. That last little bit was him saying something that she once said to him, flipping it on her. Whoop-de-woo. Next, we see Ruby and Letty in the cemetery visiting their mom. And as soon as Ruby walks up to the gravesite, Letty says, the reason why I didn't come to Mama's funeral is because I was in jail. What happened to hello? Hi, how are you? My name is, like, girl, what? Why here? Why now? And Letty says she was low-key relieved that she couldn't go because, let's keep it a buck, we never felt like a family. We may be blood, but it did not feel like a family. Family is not about obligation, it's about acceptance, and we never got that, not even from our mother. And then Letty's dumb ass takes the book of names out her purse, and then she exposes their plan to counterattack Ruby's witch bitch girlfriend to her face. And then Letty is so dumb and hopeful. She's like, listen, we need your help, and I know you're gonna help because you're my sister and I love you. Ruby, like always, takes this as an opportunity to clap back at her, saying, girl, you only want to be my sister when you need something. Letty, when will you learn? This woman don't like you. Cut back to Dee and we see someone slid a comic under her door. It looks like an official illustrated version of an Arithia Blue comic. Turns out Hippolyta created it. Dee's like, how did you do this? Like, where'd you learn to draw like this? Hippolyta said, girl, when I was traveling through the cosmos, I met this person who taught me how to draw like this so I could teach you how to draw like this. And she was like, honey, do you see what I'm looking at? My arm is dead. I can't draw ever again. Hippolyta's like, don't worry about that. I will make sure you draw again. So Hippolyta opens the door, and whatever Dee sees, she is intrigued by it. Back to Christina and Ruby, and Christina is explaining how she actually made the metamorphosis potion. She took some of William's essence, like his blood, magical intention, strong incantations, elements of magic, stuff like that, and then literally parts of herself, hair, blood, nails, all the works. Christina's worried that her spell won't work, but Ruby reassures her. She's like, and it will. And I'm here now. Like, we have each other. And then they kiss. And I can only assume this led to them bumping pocketbooks in their true forms this time. We're back to Tick and Letty, and they are in the church house about to get baptized at Letty's request. She's talking to Tick about her faith and how she has a different point of view on it. Then they kiss a little bit because, you know, romance. This next scene plays Nina Simone's I Am Blessed. Tick is looking around at his family, prepping for the big night, and he realizes how much he loves them, how lucky he is to have them, and that he is going to miss them all. For about 2 seconds, then it's back to business. As the family is packing up to leave, we see Ruby pulling up, and she done got the blood from Christina. She finally came through. This next scene is a very nice aside from all of the tension and dread that we've been, you know, swimming in so far in this episode. The whole family is singing along to Life Could Be a Dream. I don't know about y'all, but I discovered this song very young, thanks to Cars, because, you know, I love me some Disney. Just look at them.
Oh, life could be a dream. Shaboom, if I can take you out for paradise up above. Shaboom. You tell me I'm the only one that you love.
Alright, back to serious business. The family finally makes it to Artem. We see Montrose and Tick in the woods, and as Montrose is laying down a trail of salt, ooh, sorry, I just thought about the scene. Tick takes Titus's blood, eats it, and then drinks Christina's blood. Is this a perversion of communion? Is it reverse communion? I don't know. It's definitely symbolism of communion. So Tick heads to the lodge alone, and the village people, not the YMCA people, the village folk of Artem pull up on him, and it's very cult-like. Like, no one speaks. They just take his stuff away from him and they grab him and they lead him to wherever Christina is. It was giving all hail Plankton. We see the women in different areas of the lodge drawing symbols because they're creating a binding triangle. Letty and Ruby are in the watchtower, and Gia and Hippolyta are on the bridge with Montrose. Letty's about to leave for the bridge when she noticed something isn't quite right with Ruby. And she was right, because guess what? Ruby is actually Christina, posing as Ruby using that damn spell. Christina caught Ruby trying to steal the potion for them. This bitch killed Ruby! And at the same time this reveal is happening, Gia, Montrose, and Hippolyta are being surrounded by the village folk. Not to be rude, but Ruby, that is what you get for being a f***ing bird. So Letty and Christina are scrapping because you killed her sister, girl, yeah. And at the same time this is happening, the village folk are attacking Hippolyta, Gia, and Montrose. And let's just say, Hippolyta did not forget that training she had in Africa. She is swinging that weapon like nobody's business. And as Christina, in Ruby's body, is fighting Letty, this bitch throws her out of the tower. That baby turned to grits, I just know it. Cut to Dee, and she is in the car by herself in the dark woods waiting for everything to be over. Dee starts hearing some noises out there in the wilderness. You know, twigs snapping, leaves rustling, staple horror movie sounds. We then see Tick being strapped to this post, and Christina is ascending the stairs ready to do this ritual. I am so mad this evil hoe looks this good. Look at this dress. Look at the stitching. Look! The village folk have captured Hippolyta and Gia, and they're making them watch this ritual, you know, front row seat and everything, and they place an unconscious Montrose on the ground. Tick asks Christina, where's Letty? But she gives him one of these. He already knows, so he is devastated. Back to Dee, and she is attacked by a Shapath. But then here comes the other Shapath, the one that healed to Tick in episode 8. He comes to rescue Dee. The ritual begins, and Tick is being lifted up on this post. Christina gets the slicing into him like a Thanksgiving turkey. I'm not gonna show it here, but if you've seen the show, a song called Keep Your Lamps Trimmed and Burning is playing over this. And I know Sinners came out 5 years after this, but it reminded me of Sinners just because of the blues. It's the blues, you know. It did add to the defeat hovering over this scene and the eeriness. I say eeriness because Tick is literally dying in front of us, and then Christina is chanting, and it makes your hair stand on end. And the song doesn't help. We cut back to Letty on the ground, and this girl opened her eyes. She made it. Turns out Christina gave her Mark of Cain back before she hit the ground. The ritual is working, and Christina is stealing Tick's life force. So Letty hops up and she's chopping. She's moving, trying to get back to Tick. But when she pulls up to the scene, she is too late. This man is literally this close to death. Unfortunately, Christina is successful. Tick has left us, family, and she has achieved immortality. Then right after that, Letty stabs Christina through the stomach as she sang an incantation. The villagers run for the hills for some reason, and that leaves Hippolyta and Gia to gather up Montrose. Christina's like, girl, give it up. The spell is not gonna work. That potion did not have my blood in it. You're too late. Hippolyta is then telling Gia that the spell won't work unless Tick and Christina are physically connected. And now it is Gia's time to shine. She is going to finally become one with the darkness. So Gia steps into the power source that is, you know, hovering above the ritual grounds, and it goes through her, allowing her foxtails to, you know, exit her body. She impales Christina, and at the same time, she picks up Tick. And we can see their memories. We can see Christina catching Ruby and killing her. And we can also see some of Tick's final memories, which I thought they were, you know, the first time I watched this ever, I thought they were like memories from the future that didn't happen yet, because we didn't see these clips in this episode, because you see Tick showing Dee how to, you know, care for the creature, and then we see Tick giving Hippolyta a letter for Montrose. If that was cut, why was it cut? And then there's this huge explosion. Cut to black. What's that mean? Absolute cinema. That's what I felt like. Fever pitch is not a term strong enough to describe it. And after we cut to black, we fade back in to see Christina all messed up, trapped under some rubble, and she's trying to recite some spell. Then Letty appears. She's like, honey, that ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work. Christina's like, girl, did you bind me from magic? Letty's like, yes, you and every white person in the world. That was Hannah's plan all along. That was her spell, to take magic away from white people and reclaim it as their own. Amelie, baby, what's your name? Tell me what's your name. Hannah's spell worked, was successful, but Tick still did not make it. Montrose sees this and he is in denial. He's taking it the hardest. Hippolyta then gives Montrose a letter that Tick wrote to him before he passed. We hear Tick's voice over as he's reading the letter, and we see Gia, Hippolyta, Montrose, and Letty carrying his body across the bridge. Tick asks two things of Montrose. One, be happy, And 2, be the father to baby George that you were not to me. This is your chance at redemption. Do better this time. I hate this shit. I hate it so much. Misha, I've cried enough. Haven't I given you enough? Fade to black. Then we see Christina again, still trapped under the rubble like the roach she is. She hears someone approaching and she thinks someone's coming to help, but nay. It is Dee and her brand new pet. Do y'all see his big ass? Christina's like, Dee, help me. Dee goes, help Dee's nuts, girl. Dee takes off her jacket to reveal her brand new bionic arm. That's what Hippolyta showed her behind that door. Keep that in mind that Dee has a bionic arm now. Dee uses her new arm to crush Christina's windpipe. She's done. She's over. Then her new pet Shapoth punctuates Christina's death and the end of all this trauma by howling at the moon. And that is the end of Lovecraft Country. What an ending. What an ending. What an ending. Wow. This show is so good. Now that we've talked about the plot, it's time for my thoughts and commentary. There is so much that can be said about this show, especially the finale, but I'll keep it short to a few ideas. I want to talk about the very obvious and heavy conversation of reparations this episode. It plays such a big piece in the finale, and we've seen the trauma and loss that Tick's family has gone through. You know, Hannah being enslaved by Titus and being impregnated by him against her will. Hattie losing her loved ones and her own life due to white racist people. Sam Braithwaite killing Uncle George. Dee being cursed by Lancaster. Literally, Christina just existing. In a general sense, people will define reparations in terms of money or political policy changes, which, yes, that is a form of reparations. But to me, reparations is a very spiritual aspect. It's a very spiritual thing. Paying for the sins of your ancestors takes so much spiritual awareness, and I fear that is where the ball is dropped. And I say that, you know, in context of this episode because y'all saw Hannah. She was lying in wait from the other side to get her lick back. And then Christina was the one to, you know, pay those reparations forward. I feel that each family member got their lick back. Especially Dee, when she crushed her windpipe like that, she avenged her whole bloodline. And a big piece that goes into this reparations commentary is when Letty stripped magic away from white people and literally reclaimed the power for her people. For so long, white people have taken a lot from black people, including appropriating our culture and then at the same time trying to use it against us. Letty being able to figuratively and literally take back that power just reaches so far into the collective goal black people have for peace, community, respect, and cultural identity. Now I want to talk about breaking generational curses. Now, being that this show harps on this so much, I probably brought this up in another episode or another video about the show, but I'm bringing it up again. For some people in the black community, the topic and conversation of healing and breaking generational curses is a sensitive one, and it shouldn't be. It's very sad to say that it's common for black families to have deep-rooted trauma that span across generations. Unlearning unhealthy ideologies and practices can be very difficult if you are willfully ignorant and not open to growth. And we see that when Hannah sealed the book of names. She cursed what she didn't understand and decided to stay in the dark. And we see that her choices have affected her family long after she went. It also takes a great deal of sacrifice to make a significant change. Now, I'm not saying die. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there are other ways to make sacrifices so those changes can come about. And that can look like going no contact with toxic family members, setting boundaries with your family, setting boundaries for yourself, and also holding those family members accountable, holding yourself accountable. That's what a sacrifice looks like. And we also see this in Ruby too. Yes, I know I talk mad smack about Ruby, but she finally did right, I believe, like up until the end. She risked her life so Letty could see that she understood the value of family and that bond that they never had growing up as kids. In an effort to redeem all the fuck shit that she's done, she gave her life for that. Now I want to talk about the caution around magic. If you're spiritual, especially if you're black or a person of color, you know magic is not something to with. Especially if it's not your place to practice magic, don't mess with it. Leave stuff alone. And throughout this entire series, we've seen the prices you have to pay when you use magic. And we see that Tick paid the ultimate price in the end. Even if it's meant for you to practice magic, you gotta be even more careful. When it's a part of your bloodline or you're called into it, I feel like there's more potential for you to use said magic, and you also have a huger target on your back. Oh, and an Easter egg, or foreshadowing, I guess, to more foreshadowing. We see that Dee has a bionic arm now. Do y'all remember what happened when Tick went to the future a couple episodes back? He said a woman in a cloak with a robotic arm gave him the book and pushed him back through the portal. Dee was the woman with the robotic arm. Again, I wish we could have seen that flashback to when Tick jumped to the future. I wanted that so bad. But too late now. Alright, now that I've spoken on the commentary that I plucked from this episode, I want to talk about the show's cancellation. Now, as you can see, if you've watched the show and you have HBO Max, you see that there's only one season. After doing extensive research, I came across a multitude of reasons as to why this show was never picked back up. One source said a toxic, work environment. One source said that, what's his name? Jonathan Majors was being problematic. And this was before the whole scandal with him and that white lady. And another reason being was there was no source material to pull from for season 2, because this first season is based off of a book by Matt Ruff, I think his name is Matt Ruff, and that's where they pulled all the source material from, and he hadn't written the second book yet. I think the real reason why the show was canceled is because of racism and exposing too much of the truth. We all know this industry is very racist still to this day, and I just felt like the show did so well. I think it was nominated for 21 Emmys and it won 6, so that's great. And it was created by a black woman, and we have an entirely black cast. And this was something that was refreshing, because when it comes to black stories, we're never seen in fantasy or sci-fi or horror, and that was a hub. This show was a hub for all three, seeing us in a different light, different area that we never really tread that much. I would love to see more shows about black people, discovering magic and the supernatural and all of that stuff, because we don't really have that representation. With Lovecraft Country, we had that, but they took it away from us. Now, I don't know who up there at HBO was lying, talking about we don't have the budget. Yes, the y'all do. Yes, y'all do. Y'all are just being racist. Y'all pick and choose. That's what I think it was. And the second reason being, I think they was being too loud. They were being too loud. You know what they say, and my fellow conspiracy theorists know this. They put a little bit of truth into our TV shows and our movies. We know this, right? And they pass it off as fiction. Now, I'm gonna mention someone, and she's probably tired of me mentioning her, but I don't care, because this feeds into what I'm about to say. There's this creator on TikTok by the name of Kat G. This is her handle, okay? I'm not gonna put up her picture because I don't know if she's okay with that. But Kat G is from Chicago, and she is known for her paranormal activity stories in Chicago. She is a star child. Now, if you don't know what a star child is, look it up, okay? Being that she's a star child, she is susceptible to supernatural and paranormal, happenings. So she's recounted her many run-ins with vampires, witches, gargoyles, sirens, ghosts, all of that, right? All of this taking place in Chicago. And she has told us that Chicago is one of the most supernaturally charged places in the world because of its very dark history. Lovecraft Country takes place in Chicago. So being that Kat is telling all of these stories about the paranormal and supernatural in Chicago and what she grew up with, this makes me believe her. This show makes me believe her even more. Now, of course, the show came out in 2020. I didn't discover Kat G until 2025. But what she's saying, and it just kind of goes hand in hand. Like, the show makes me believe even more now that this stuff is out there. And I know that I may be sounding very crazy to some of you right now, you know, but I do believe that those things exist in our universe. I could go on and on about how there's so much life out there, so much that we don't know, because, you know, we're like a speck in the entire galaxy, so that there's got to be some stuff like that out there. And to hear Kat speak about it, and I think she's legit. I don't think she's making it up. And then you have a show like Lovecraft Country. Now, if it took place anywhere else, okay, maybe it would have been a bit of a stretch, but it takes place in the same place that she's from. So it just solidifies my belief of her stories and what could be out there even more. If I had to rate this show, I would rate it a 10 out of 10. Now, the book purists, if you've read the book and you think the show is shit, don't come for me. That's why we're allowed to have opinions, because, you know, people think different things. I have not read the books yet. Don't fight me, I know. I plan to, now that I have rewatched it recently. I want to read both because, one, I haven't read them before, obviously. Two, I want to read that second book so I can get closure on that ending. And throughout my time rewatching this over the past 2 months, I went on the Reddit boards that were live 5 years ago in 2026. Damn it, I can't do math today. And I was seeing a lot of people complain about the show's pacing, which I would say the pacing in this last episode was very fast. I'll give it that. And of course, not everything in this show was perfect. There were some things that I noticed this time around rewatching it. I noticed some inconsistencies, but hey, what are you gonna do? No one's perfect. But to me, I just love the essence of the show, what it represents, and just the artistry of it all. Misha Green did an astounding job. Now, if there is any way that we can get this show picked up anywhere for a season 2, there was a petition going around back in 2021. Can we start another one? I feel like a second season needs to be done. It needs to be done. And Misha, what do we need to do for this to come about again? Netflix, pick up the show. Hulu, pick up the show. Hell, Peacock, pick up the show. Since HBO don't want to do it, somebody pick up the show, please. I know it's been 6 years, but I need season 2. The community needs season 2. The culture needs season 2. Misha, tell us what we have to do. And I know it won't be the same without Michael K. Williams, aka Montrose. Michael K. Williams passed 5 years ago. May he rest in peace. But man, the story is too good, and like that ending, we need to find out what happens. We need to see how the family moves on after all of these events. Yeah, but all my love to Misha Green. You did that, girl. All right, I'm done ranting. I'm done talking. That was my review on the show Lovecraft Country. Now, if y'all want me to do another show, let me know. But I will tell you this, it will not be a video for each episode. I only did that because the show only has 1 season. So if a show has more than 1 season, it's gonna be a season per video. Yeah. Alright, so that concludes our video for today. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. And if you made it to the end of the video, comment black and brown hearts, please. And subscribe if you want to. I'll see y'all in the next go around. Okay, bye.